my presentation is on child abuse. So, just gonna show it. Okay. So, I basically wrote my persuasive speech on why child abuse is an important topic that needs to be discussed. Okay. So, my first slide is signs of child abuse, which can be withdrawal from friends, activities such as sports, changes in behavior, when a child can start acting aggressive or out of control. Another sign of a child being abused would be depression or anxiety. You see that in a lot of kids that are going through things at home. They definitely show these signs while they're at school. If they're doing therapy, if they're meeting with a social worker, obviously they'll show all these signs. If it seems like the child has a lack of supervision, wearing certain things, doing certain things that usually wouldn't be okay. Frequent absences from school, that's also very important because if a child isn't showing up for school, clearly there's a miscommunication at home, and obviously the parent isn't really trying to send them to school. Attempts at running away, obviously they're running away from something. Rebellious or defiant behavior, or self-harm, and even suicide at times when a child cannot handle it. So the next slide is parental behavior that has signs of that they're abusing the child. Sometimes a parent, their demeanor sends red flags. Just anything that they do towards the child, how they act, shows little concern for the child. Like I said in the last slide, if they're not sending them to school, if their clothes aren't clean, blames the child for problems. This is a very important one. I feel like a lot of adults take their problems out on their children. If they had a bad day at work, they're coming home, they're taking it out on the kid. If something happened with, the husband, the mom might take it out on all the kids, which is never good because then the child they didn't do anything wrong. So they're receiving punishment for something that they didn't do. Consistently belittles or berates the child. So constantly putting them down, making their self-esteem low, expects the child to provide him or her with attention and care, and seems jealous of other family members getting attention from the child. This is a really important one also. You never want to act jealous towards the child. It's not healthy. Use harsh physical discipline, like out in public if you see an adult hitting their child, or just anything that isn't normal that you wouldn't want to do to your children, you know what I mean? Demands an inappropriate level of physical or academic performance. This is basically when they're just pushing the child to do things that they might not want to do, or in my eyes, I look at this as the parent living through the child, forcing them to do things that, they never got the chance to do or didn't want to do. Let me see. Severely limits the child contact with others. Now, this one is dangerous because the child could be going through anything, and if they cannot talk to anyone, there's no way that anyone's going to find out about what's going on at home. If they're going through something that is dangerous, if they're dealing with abuse at home, and the parent knows what they're doing to the child, they can push the child away from certain people so that they don't get caught. Offers conflicting or unconvincing explanations for a child injuries with no explanation at all. If a student or a child is constantly coming in with bruises all over them, and you're asking the parent, did she fall? Did he fall? And if they're not giving like a straight answer, or if like they keep just saying, like little explanations that don't really make sense, that's when I would report it, because obviously you're seeing the bruises on the child and the explanations are just not adding up to what's going on. Who's more at risk? Factors that may increase a person's risk to becoming abusive is a history of being abused or being neglected as a child. In my opinion, this is number one, why abuse continues, because it is a cycle. Physical or mental illness such as depression or PTSD, it has a mental effect on the parent, so they might not be able to take care of their children as much as they would want to. Physical or mental illness, I just said that. Family crisis or stress that can, cause them to take it out on the child as well. A child in the family who is developmentally or physically disabled. This is also a big one because some parents just cannot handle kids with certain issues, certain, mental disabilities. They might not be as fast thinking as the other children in the house, so they're gonna, the mother or father might treat that one child less than the others. Poor understanding of child development and parenting skills. That's basically the last thing I kind of just said. When you have a special needs child, it sometimes can be harder to care for them. Alcohol, drugs, or other substance abuse. This is the obvious. If an adult is under the influence, they're not giving the correct care to the child that they should be. Physical reactions to abuse. These are very serious. Premature death, physical disabilities, learning disabilities, substance abuse, health problems. Okay, so these are all life-threatening, except the learning disabilities. Everything else is life-threatening. It's very bad for the child. It can cause severe issues, just like it can cause death. You can hurt a child so vigorously and not realize it because, grown adults don't realize their strength towards children sometimes. So, the child could lose their life over an adult being abusive. Behavior issues. Now, this is where, schools will notice when a child is acting out. So, delinquent or violent behavior, abuse of others. See, if their mom is hitting them, and then they go into school and they hit another student. Withdrawal, suicide attempts, or self-injury. I said that before. High-risk sexual behaviors or teen pregnancy. This happens a lot when a child is raped or sexually molested. They may develop, high-risk sexual behavior because of the things that they have went through. Problems in school or not finishing high school, limited social and relationship skills, problems with work or staying employed. Emotional issues, low self-esteem, difficulty establishing or maintaining relationships, challenges with intimacy and trust, inability to cope with stress and frustrations, and acceptance that violence is a normal part of relationships. Now, this can all be learned from being abused. They may think that that's okay. It's okay to do it to other people. It's okay for other adults to abuse them, which is never good and can really mess up their mental state. Prevention of child abuse. Now, this is very important, and it may seem like, well, how could you prevent that? It's all, you know what I mean? Some people will say that. Nurture your child. Give them love. Give them respect. Show them what it's like to be loved correctly. Give them correct love. Don't respond in anger. If you're having a bad day, you need to just calm down. Don't take it out on your kids, okay? They did not do anything to deserve to be treated like that. Know your child's caregivers. If you're putting your child into daycare or, with a family member, it's very important to know the background of these people and make sure that they're actually going to be a good caregiver and being able to take care of your children. Show your children when to say no. Teach them boundaries. I know it can be awkward conversation, but you need to teach them boundaries and when to say no to certain people, even if it's an adult. It does not matter. If they are uncomfortable, you need to teach them when to say no. Teach your child how to stay safe online. There's so many, child abuse cases, rapes, kidnapping from children meeting people online. It's okay to go online and meet new friends, but they need to learn how to be safe and how to be healthy online. Okay. There are several treatment options for child abuse. The first one would be medical care and therapy. Therapy, after a child goes through abuse, they're obviously going to want to talk to someone that's licensed and able to help them and talk to them about how they're feeling. Turn to help, and I put 2 numbers for child abuse. If you see it, if you notice it, if you know anyone going through this, those would be the numbers to call. Child abuse has very long effects on children and even adults. So it needs to be stopped, and there needs to be something done. There's so many horrible effects that an adult can grow up having. These children are of our future. They are adults of the future. So we're only teaching them to treat others badly. We don't want to do that. So we just need to take all the steps, how I said, to prevent it. If you know anyone that's being abused, if you know anything, you need to call someone right away, because you have to put yourself in the child's shoes. You're supposed to feel safe at home. If you can't feel safe at home, then it's like, what's the point? You need a safe space. If school isn't your safe space, then home needs to be. Like, your home should always be a calm, relaxing environment. It's needed to grow properly, to go to school, get good grades, to focus being a child. If they're going through things that they can't handle, they're not going to do good in school. They're going to hurt other people. They're being taught that. That behavior is taught, and it needs to be changed. So, thank you for listening to my presentation on child abuse. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Thank you.